Time back here with another video. And in this video today, guys, we're going to be doing a tier list of the top power forwards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. Now, I feel like a lot of power forwards, we're on the small forward list, or a lot of those guys can play both, such as like a LeBron James, a Luol Deng, a Jason Tatum. Some of those guys are going to be on the center list as well that might not make the power forward list. So we don't have a ton of guys on this list. I tried to even include like the Hakeems, the Giannis's, the KGs, like everybody that does have power forward center eligibility. Then I'm like, you know what? They could be played at the power forward position. Tried to include them, but we still do not have a ton of overall players here. Before we dive any further, make sure to go check out all of the other tier lists, and let's dive into it. Pau Gasol, look, I know some people are running Diamond Pau Gasol. I'm of the brain that Diamond Pau Gasol is just mid. I mean, release wise, he's okay. Speed wise, defensively, is okay. Maybe he's B tier. I just think for me, and the reason I don't love Pau Gasol is I'm not super high on that release. I mean, I feel like that release is somewhat bait, and I think, on that same thought, it's with Pau Gasol, like, sure, he's 7 feet tall, but does he do enough if he doesn't have a great release for me to really hype the card up a ton? I just don't necessarily know. I think B tier is the right spot for Mr. Pau Gasol on my team. Might be better at that center position. Naz Reid, I think we gotta go C tier or B tier. I think B tier might be the better spot. Then it's like, even compared to Pau Gasol, who is better? I think Pau does have the edge. So I think that's where, things are gonna start getting tough for me, because I don't hate Naz. Do I think he's, the best power forward in the game? No. But I definitely think he can go out there and be a decent budget option. Is he perfect? No, I think B tier is the right spot. Wendell Carter Jr. up next. Kind of very similar to Naz Reid. They are a little bit different, but in the same type of thing, they're going to give you a decent budget power forward in my team that you can run and have success with. Now, again, who do you prefer between them? That is totally up to you guys and totally personal preference. I can't even sit here and be like, oh yeah, Naz is better, or oh yeah, Wendell is better, because both the cards are about the same. The card I do know is better than both of them is Bobby Portis Jr. This is our first A tier card. Look, you can get him for what? At this point, 11,000 MT, I do believe. And for that, I'm not going to lie, he's tough to beat. Great release, solid defense. They did something when they evoed Bobby Portis Jr. Like another guy, I just go to him right now because I want to talk about him, Jared Vanderbilt. Is he as good as Bobby Portis Jr.? I think they're about the same. I think if it came down to it, I prefer Bobby Portis Jr. But they did something special with Bobby Portis Jr.'s last couple of evos, whereas with Jared Vanderbilt, I'm going to be honest, his last couple evos absolutely stunk. And so I think that's my big thing in which I love Bobby Portis Jr. is when these two cards first came out, I was way higher, way, just not even close, higher on Jared Vanderbilt compared to Bobby Portis Jr. But as time went on, as we saw the evos, I'm like, dude, they're not even making Jared Vanderbilt much better. Whereas with Bobby Portis Jr., they continue to make him better and better. And I think, again, I wasn't expecting that, but that is something we need to take into consideration. Amare Stoudemire up next. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to move these guys down. Naz down, Wendell down, right there with Amare Stoudemire. I feel like Amare for a diamond should be way better. I mean, his badges just aren't great. He's a card that I had some decent hopes for. But if you look at his badges and even his stats, he does not look like a diamond. He looks like another Naz Reid or Wendell Carter Jr. Like, he just doesn't really impress me. Might have some more Hall of Fame badges, but that's about it. Anthony Davis, Amethyst up next. I think A or C tier is where I want to go. I don't mind Ami AD. I still think he does a lot for you guys on the court. One of the best parts about Anthony Davis is his release. I mean, it's not like cheesy. It's not, fantastic, but it's easy to time and easy to green. And I think for a lot of people that play the game, that's the important thing here. Like, if somebody has a release that you can trust to green with every single time, that needs to count, and that, needs to matter about as much as anything else. And I think for me in AD, I see that. I respect that. I see everybody that I play against greening with the card, and that's why I put him at C tier. Diamond AD, our first S tier player. Is he the best power forward in the game? That's up for debate. I can't even sit here and say no, because when I've used Diamond AD, I've had so much success with him. Just as much success with him as a guy, let's say, like a pink diamond Giannis. And that's why I'm like, is he the best power forward in the game? Well, I definitely think it can be at least debated and talked about. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. but I do believe it is super close. I do think S tier is the right spot for Diamond AD. Bob Pettit up next. I'm going to go C tier. Some people think Bob Pettit is not great, but I'm telling you guys, if you look at his stats and badges, I think he's just as good as let's say, a Diamond Amare Stoudemire, which is crazy. They should even be in the same remote tier, but they're in the same exact tier. Bob Pettit, I do like. Release-wise, I mean, it's not great, but it's okay. I mean, you can use it and have success with it. I think as an overall card, a C tier is the right spot. Diamond Chet up next. Here's the tough part. S tier or A tier, I don't know. For now, I'm going to put him... It's tough. It's tough because if I got to put him at S tier. He's more S tier than A tier. He's going to be closer to Diamond AD than, let's say, Diamond Jared Vanderbilt. And if I wanted to, I could, I guess, move Jared Vanderbilt and Bobby Portis down and put Chet in that tier, which I might have to do. I think this is, you know, the most probably logical reasoning here, although I don't necessarily love it. Chet's Chet, man. His strength rating isn't high enough to put him at S tier. He's not as good as Anthony Davis, but the card is fantastic. He probably is a top 5 or 6 overall power forward in the entire game. So it just depends where you guys ultimately do want to rank people. You could have him at S tier. I don't care. Do what you guys got to do because I think he is close to being that S tier of good. But again, if you want to have him at A tier, I can't argue with him because I think that is very logical. Chris Bosh, if you do not have Chris Bosh in A tier, you are wrong. And I'm very passionate about this, okay? Because Chris Bosh has done things for me, man, and he has just been a guy that I can rely on basically all year long. And for you guys, you might be like, really, Ty? It's Chris Bosh? Like, what does he really do that's that great? You know, that's what a lot of people are going to think. He's just an okay power forward in my team. You know what? That's pretty valid. He is an okay power forward in my team. But when it comes down to it, he's a guy you can run, you can trust to knock down shots. He plays decent defense, gets me paint stops. What more do I need out of a guy in Chris Bosh than that? I mean, if he does those things for me, which he does, at a high level, which he does, I don't need anything more. He plays defense. He knocks down shots. His release used to be broken, I feel like, but ever since they like updated it, which was a long while ago, I feel like the card's just been that man in my team and not a card that anybody should sleep on. Chris Bosh, super good in my team. Definitely a card you guys still can run and have a lot of success with. This stage, Chris Webber, I'm going to go C tier. I mean, you could argue D tier. I mean, at this stage, he probably is D tier, honestly. And I don't want to hate on the card. Probably is D tier. David West, I'm putting him at B tier. I like David West. Is he, you know, the best reward in the game? Well, he's one of them that we saw this season. And it's kind of sad that I can only have him at B tier, with him being one of the best rewards that we got all season long. But I mean, that's where he belongs. And I'm sorry, but that's just the facts of the situation, man. That is ultimately as high as I can go with David West, B tier. Gonna knock down shots, play decent defense. Overall, a really solid card. Diamond Giannis, S tier. I mean, is he as good as a pink Diamond Giannis? Not quite. But Diamond Giannis is 100% still S tier. And if you do not think he is, I hate to break it to you, you're just probably wrong. Okay, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but if you do not think Diamond Greek Freak is S tier, I think you ultimately are wrong. The card does a lot at a really high level. Pink Diamond Giannis, obviously better than Diamond Greek. Probably your best power forward in the entire game. I think AD is close. I do think Pink Diamond Greek is just that little bit better and just gives you that little bit more. Now, again, a lot of people might disagree with me on that, and that is A-okay. I'm just saying with what I've used in Diamond Greek, or in Pink Diamond Greek, I do think he is probably, as it stands right now, the best power forward that we do have in my team. Grant Williams up next. He's undersized, C tier though. He still does, stat-wise is good, just super undersized. Pink Diamond Hakeem up next. S tier. I think I gotta go S tier at Pink Diamond Hakeem. And I'm not trying to just sit here and gas Hakeem. Because I honestly, I don't have the card yet. I'm trying to eventually get him, but I don't have him. But when I've played against Hakeem, he's fine. Do I think he's, you know, the best, let's say, power forward center in the game? No, he's fine. Not necessarily that next level of good. James Worthy up next. I think for big game James, C tier. I like him more at the small forward position. Just think he's a little too undersized at that power forward position for me to gas him any higher. Now, I still like his release. Still think as far as a complete overall power forward in my team, does a lot for you guys on you know, in general. I think that's why he's C tier, but I can't go any higher. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think C tier is where I got to go at this stage. Now, I do know they dropped the locker code in which you could have got a free Jaren Jackson Jr., and hopefully you guys took advantage of that because he is a really solid free power forward. But at this stage, He's just not what he once was. And I've used him on the No Money Spent recently. I'm trying to make him work, but he just wasn't what he once was. Josh Smith up next. I'm throwing him a D tier. I'm sorry, with that release, I can't sit here and hype up a card like Josh Smith. I'm sorry, I can't do it. If you want to sit here and hype up Josh Smith, man, do ultimately what you guys got to do. I just can't. I can't sit here and hype up a card like Josh Smith that I don't think is good. And I'm sorry, Josh, but that's just what it is. Your release is borderline unusable. Julius Randle up next. I'm going to go D tier with Julius Randle, too. I'm sorry, Julius Randle. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't love your release. Defensively, you're very mid. And when I say I don't love his release, I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm just saying, is it a release that I love? No. It is easy to time and easy to green. It's just kind of slow. It's kind of like a set shot, just a little bit baited. Just not one that I'm just the biggest fan of. And maybe that's just my personal bias against it. I don't know. But when I've used it, it's just like, I mean, again, it's fine. You can use it. I just do not love it. KG up next, S tier. And I don't know if I'm going to have anybody at F tier. I just don't know. Maybe I guess I'll put Josh Smith. Josh Smith plays defense, so I can't. I just don't know. I do love KG's. Definitely S tier, one of the best overall power forwards in the game. LaMarcus Aldridge is a stretch, big plays, a little defense, has a decent height at 6'11". He is C tier. You can't go any higher than C tier, but if you're lower than C tier on LaMarcus Aldridge, I just think you're wrong. And I'm not trying to be mean, not trying to do anything crazy, but if you have him any lower than that, I just think ultimately you are wrong. Lamar Odom up next, B tier. I'm sorry. Give me Chris Bosh, give me Chet over Lamar Odom. I put him on the power forward list because I think he's just as good at power forward as he is at small forward. I really do, because he is 6'10". Gonna at least maybe play lanes at the power forward position, not have to necessarily handle the ball a ton. I just don't love him. From his release to his defense, I just think he's okay, not great. And that's just kind of my overall take on him. When I've used Lamar, he's been okay, not great. And he does make me mad because I miss shots that I shouldn't miss with him, stuff like that. But I do think as an overall card, Lamar gives you something. Michael Beasley up next. I'm going to put him at B tier. I do wish Michael Beasley's defense was a little bit better, but when it comes down to it, offensively, one of the best overall power forwards, if I'm ranking him as a power forward on this entire list. Has the best release in the entire game. Obi Toppin, D tier. I mean, what is Obi Toppin really giving us on the court? Not much. I mean, he is a decently big name. People would like Obi Toppin. He's going to dunk the ball well. I mean, but he just doesn't, and I say it like this, he just really does not fit the meta of my team. The meta of my team this year is not dunking the basketball. It's just not. And so for me, I don't think Obi Toppin fits what it is. Otis Thorpe, C tier. I mean, I know he's a reward, and I know you guys might get him and want to try the card out, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't get your hopes up for Big Otis. Don't get your hopes up, because you will definitely be let down when you use the card and be like, man, this card stinks in Otis Thorpe. PJ Washington, I can't sit here and say I used the card. I actually got him out of a free pack today, but I mean, what is PJ Washington doing? He's undersized. I mean, what is he, 6'7" at the power forward? Like, what? How am I supposed to sit here and hype up a card like PJ Washington? I don't know if I can. Pascal Siakam up next. I mean, I'm going to go B tier. Look, without the duo, Pascal Siakam's not great. His release is easy to time, easy to green. It is. I'm not going to disagree with that. But outside of that, outside of his release being easy to green, which it is, I'll respect and I'll agree with. It is easy to green. What does he really give you on the court? Yes, he plays defense, but he's undersized at 6'8". So, I mean, how much defense can you really play? When you could get mashed on every play, okay? Without the duo, he loses a lot of his bonus boosts as well. Like, those bonus boosts, in my opinion, are the big separator between A tier and B tier. If you're looking at Pascal Siakam with his duo, I think you are looking at an A tier power forward. Thing is, without him, I think you're looking at a B tier power forward, and that's where I'm putting him. Rudy G up next. I'm putting him at A tier. Again, undersized, but I think his release is better than Siakam's. I think as an overall card, he's better than Siakam. Again, it's kind of a personal preference, I would say, between the two cards. I just have more success with Rudy G in my team. Card I'm putting at F tier is Tim Duncan. What is he doing on the court? He can't shoot. He's slow. I'm sorry, Tim Duncan, you are F tier. I'm not going to sit here and hype up a Tim Duncan card that I think is absolutely horrible. That's just something I don't believe in. I'm not going to hype up a card that I don't like and that I don't think would help you guys have success in my team ultimately. for me, F tier for Mr. Tim Duncan. That's gonna wrap it up for my tier list. Took me a long time to get somebody at F tier, but I finally did. Got some of the top guys in S tier, and obviously slowly gets worse and worse as we go through it. One thing I would say is if you have somebody in B tier or higher, you're fine. Like Michael Beasley's fine, Pau Gasol is fine, Bobby Portis Jr., all those cards are fine. All of those cards can compete at a pretty high level in my team. It really is just personal preference on who you guys do want to run. That's gonna wrap it up for my tier list today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.